Hi, my name is Ben Sutter III, and I'm founder and owner of BS3 Radio. I've been podcasting for 5 years, and with BS3 Radio, it has grown to over 46,000 listens and downloads. I've helped hundreds of people to start a podcast by giving them the knowledge, tools, and confidence to be successful. Now I'm here to help you do the same with BS3 Coaching. So let's build a successful podcast. I will be your podcast coach. We'll be able to work one-on-one. I won't be giving you a booklet and just telling you to look over it, but we'll be working one-on-one, side by side, to either help build up a successful podcast or to take your podcast to the next level. So click the link above or below to check out the pricing. I look forward to working with you, and God bless. Welcome, everyone, to Reaction Monday. We do this show every Monday, reacting what happened from the weekend. And on today's show, we'll be recapping week 10 of the Creating Young Minds Undiscovered League. We're getting a little bit of a late start, so those of you that are tuning in live, I do apologize for that. But we got some highlights tonight from games from yesterday. Also, we'll be remembering Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. I will have two guests coming on here in a minute. Brian HRap B Williams and then DeAnthony Thompson. DeAnthony's been on the show quite a few times, so I'm really excited to be able to do this show. I haven't really done a show before doing a remembrance of Martin Luther King, so this will be really fun to do. Also, we'll be sharing some untold stories. We'll also be sharing some facts about him that you maybe did not know. So it'll be a really, really good show. Also, we have some quotes that we'll be sharing as well. So let's get into the Creating Young Minds Undiscovered League Week 10. And once again, if you're not aware, this league is about professional basketball players competing alongside young men aspiring to play professional in the U.S. or around the world. So whatever opportunity that they can get, they are they're really great and talented young men that are, like I said, trying to build up, their career. Shout out to James Montgomery. He is the co-host of the Ear Hustling podcast, a part of BS3 Radio, does a great job, awesome job. Make sure to go to the Ear Hustling podcast page on YouTube. You can make sure to give it a thumbs up and like it. So week 10, as you can see below, what's scrolling down below at the bottom, creatingyoungminds.uscreen.io to check out the games. So we had 3 games yesterday. The first one was the Undiscovered team going up against Louisville Yellow. Another talented game once again for the Undiscovered team. This team is the best in this league. This league is based out of Dallas, Texas, actually Louisville, but you can watch the games live with the link below, or if you're in the area, in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, you can watch it in person. So the first game up was Undiscovered. Undiscovered is always first because they are the best team and they give you the run and gun type of play, up and down, fast breaks, being able to hit shots. Now, early on, I would have to say they did have a little bit of a struggle, which is really uncharacteristic of them because normally they're pretty spot on in money. And we will get to some highlights here in a minute with with all of the games, but in particular this game, which was game 1. Shout out to Reggie Robinson. Louisville Yellow had a nice dime to Rick Curry. I was excited to see what Louisville Yellow was going to do. At the end of the day, this Undiscovered team they've only lost 1 game, but they are extremely talented on both sides of the floor. And you can't deny the skill that they have. 5 players, listen to this stat, 5 players in double figures. The scout that was there said that there was great team ball movement and was shocked to see 94 feet defense, and they press too. This is not one of those things where they just play D only when they want to. They press on defense, and that is one of the things that I really impressed about, about the Undiscovered League and the Undiscovered team. Also, he said the scout was saying that he has not seen this at this type of level across the board. Balsa and Jarrett, so Balsa Bolshevik, one of the players, and also Jarrett Jetpack J, that's his nickname, Jared Henderson. Big impact like he does every single opportunity that he's on the floor. So Damian the Dream Durham, I talk about this guy every single week. Every single week. I'm just gonna call him the Dream at this point, because whenever he's on the floor, 9 times out of 10, he's about to make at least 20 to 30 points. He's just one of those guys that are extremely talented, and you just can't deny it. One of those guys that's a shooter, one of those guys that you cannot leave open, which that was something that I did not understand. They were leaving him open, which that's just something that you cannot do. One of those pure shooters. Shout out to Tracy Porter. He's tuning in on the Facebook side. Thank you for tuning in. Also, if you're on YouTube, let me know where you're watching from. Also, we are monetized, so you can donate to BS3 Radio with Super Chat or Super Stickers. It's a very fun way that you can help and contribute to what we do here, and it will not go unnoticed. You will get a shout out, and you will get you're appreciated. You get a you're appreciated, because we thank you for everything, everybody watching and tuning in. So again, Damian Durham, don't leave this guy open. You can't do it, because he is just beyond talented, and that's just something that you can't do with a guy that's a pure shooter. And when I'm talking about this guy, he is the all-time 3-point record holder at Cal State Bakersfield, which is out of California. But he had 24 points yesterday. And I'm going to use a quote. Shout out to Sheila Patterson. Thank you for tuning in. She said, good vibes. Thank you for that. I'm going to use a quote by Mark Jackson. Hand down, man down. There was plenty of times, and if anybody has either watched this league or actually been to a game, you know that he's the best shooter in this league. And every single opportunity he gets, he's going to knock it down. He did have a couple of times where a couple of shots he didn't make that he was wide open, and I was actually shocked. But hand down, man down. That's a Mark Jackson quote. So Dame had 11 points, 11 quick points. I mean, it was back to back to back. He was just hitting shots like it was really with ease. And he's just got one of those pure jumpers. So, people may be saying, why are you talking about this guy so much? Well, I'm going to show you some highlights here in a minute. But he is one of these guys that it's just flat out a pure shooter. You know a pure shooter when you see one, because they have no problem pulling up from any potential spot on the floor. It doesn't matter. And the one thing I will say also is the coach is never yelling at him to not shoot the ball. And to me, that also means that he's one of those pure shooters. So Tracy Porter, I'm talking about a semi-pro league. So it's not high school, it's not college. And so it's semi-pro. And also these guys are a part of the TBL, which is the basketball league. But Creating Young Minds has a league that they're doing in between time. But again, I'll show you some highlights here in a minute. Louisville Yellow missing layups, and that'll cost you in a game. You cannot do that. But one thing I will say about Louisville Yellow is that they were extremely vocal on defense and offense. And I was impressed by that, because if you're playing D, you got to be vocal to tell, the guy that you're playing with, hey, I got him weak side defense. I mean, they were very vocal. At the end of the day, it's not really enough. Rick Curry is, I've talked about him on past shows, but I wanted to mention him because he's one of those guys that's just smooth in the paint. One of those guys that you give the ball to him down low, and he's able to do exactly what's needed to be done to get the ball in the basket. And just a smooth, I would say like a Shaq, kind of like a Hakeem Olajuwon. When Hakeem had the ball, it was so smooth, it was pretty. So Rick Curry, like I said, his post game has always been on point every single game that I watch. It was 44-23 at the half. Undiscovered was up. And at this point, when you're up by that much and you're this Undiscovered team, it's almost a wrap because all they're going to do is keep shooting and keep pushing it. Bolshevik went off yesterday in that first initial game. He had 11 points, 14 rebounds. Him and Jared Henderson, a.k.a. Jetpack J, is just one of those guys that are extremely physical, hustling on both sides, and they are the king of the rebounds. So in this game, Undiscovered wins. Jared, Jetpack J, the guy has boings. If you know somebody that just has hops, this is that guy. 20 points, 10 rebounds, 3 assists. Damian the Dream Durham had 24 points, 6 rebounds, 3 assists. Bolshevik, 11 for 14, 11 points, 14 rebounds. Chase Winchester, shout out to Chase Winchester with the sweet lefty. 14 points, 8 assists, 5 rebounds. And then Trey Patterson with 14 points and 1 steal. Appreciate that. Appreciate that, Tracy Porter, for sharing it. And the link that you're seeing scrolling below, you can check out the games. They're every Sunday. The next game will be next Sunday. So you'll be able to tune into that. Go to that website right there. You'll be able to find it. Shout out to Skinny P. He said, guess what? What? Thank you for coming through. All right. And Louisville Yellow. Shout out to Charmaine Thomas, man. Had a quiet double-double, 13 and 10. So big shout out to him. And then Rick Curry, I've been talking about him, 14 points, 5 rebounds. Let's get to the highlights so you can see exactly what I'm talking about. Game 1. Let's get to the highlights from game 1. This one right here. Damian Durham with a 3 versus Louisville Yellow. Jumper. And like I was saying, you can hear Louisville Yellow very vocal on defense. I think that's important. And I think they will also get better as they continue to play. This next highlight right here is a dime, a straight dime by Damian Durham to Jared Henderson. You can see the hops. You can see the boings of Jared Henderson. This next one here is Bolshevik. I mentioned him. Just a rebounder, a pure natural rebounder. He had 14 rebounds. This is him hitting the 3.
Good job, boys.
Nice 3 from the key. So that was the first game. It was a pretty lopsided victory at the end of it when you call it all said and done, 85-54. But Louisville Yellow, you got to give them an A for effort. But the Undiscovered team had 5 players in double-digit figures. That's just one of those type of outings where everybody's eating. Everybody. You're right, Tracy Porter. Always good to communicate on defense, especially when you're playing against a team, the Undiscovered team in this Undiscovered league. All right, the next game up, CYM. So CYM stands for Creating Young Minds. You can see it right here in the background with the logo, Creating Young Minds. And these are teams of mixed, players. They have a league. They have Creating Young Minds Academy, which is helping to build young men with basketball. So they're giving them tools and skills. So some of these guys are 18, 19, 20, and they're trying to not only build up them in basketball, but build them up with life skills, build them up with things that can help them outside of basketball. So you're seeing guys that are 18, 19, 20, some a little bit older. So in this next game, this is CYM, Creating Young Minds, going up against the Prospects. CYM gets the win, 80-68. But as we go through the game, and this is the thing, the same guys that played for the Undiscovered team were the same guys that played for the CYM team. And Michael Lenore was one of the guys. And shout out to Michael Lenore, which we'll see some highlights from him in a minute, but also Marcus Brooks. They do double time. So this is a league where they all push each other. They all work together. And in this league, Marcus Brooks, who plays later on, I'm going to get to his game, and Michael Lenore, they do commentating. So they do commentating of the game. If you go to that link, creatingyoungminds.uscreen.io, you will hear either Marcus Brooks or you will hear Michael Lenore. So they do double duty. And this is an organization, Creating Young Minds, that really truly is helping to build young men, but they work together. That is the thing that I am so impressed about, because it's not just really about one person. They're all pushing each other. They're all working together. And that's one thing that I will, continue to be impressed about with this league. And they continue to work hard to push this league, and they got a lot of young talent. There's no doubt about that. You got a lot of young talent that is undiscovered. That's why they call it the Undiscovered League. All right, so game 2, Trey Patterson, shout out to him, was getting it going early. Rick Curry again. Rick Curry played for the Prospects team, so they're playing back-to-back games, so they're really running and hustling. Michael Lenore with a nice alley-oop to Trey Patterson. Michael Lenore is one of those true point guards, one of those that's not just focused on scoring, but one of those the guys that are focused on scoring, but more so getting his teammates involved. That's the one thing I have noticed about this young man. I've interviewed him on my show before, so I know some about him, and I know that he is one of those true point guards. We'll get to some highlights that we're here in a minute. Terrell Jones, shout out to Terrell Jones of the Prospects. He was really getting it going in the game. He had 16 points, 4 rebounds. Michael Lenore getting to the line, and this was a comment by Marcus Brooks, the commentator, that he gets to the line an average of 10 times, and it was true, because he was just, when you go to the hole as much as he does, and when you're a player like he is, you're going to get to the hole quite often. And that was something that he was able to do also in this game as well. And then at third quarter, it was 41-41. So this was a really close game. But late in the game, CYM started to pull away. Michael Lenore hitting threes. They end up pulling it out 80-68. Good to have these type of outlets to see other talent across the states. I agree with you, Tracy Porter. I definitely agree with you there. So let's get to the highlights from the second game, CYM versus the Prospects. We'll get to this first highlight here. Shout out to Abraham Davalos with a nice drive to the hole. Nice Euro step. I know you like that Euro step right there. This next highlight right here is Michael Lenore with a nice alley-oop. I mentioned it earlier to Trey Patterson, Trey Patterson. You gotta watch. You gotta watch that backside. That's what happens sometimes. Michael Lenore with a nice play right here. Nice drive to the hole. Something just fell down next to me. That was weird. Nice drive to the hole. And he's 6'1", I believe, and he's got hops too. So that's another aspect to his game. And 5'11", actually, 5'11", and he can dunk. I don't have a highlight of him dunking right now, but the kid has hops. All right, the next highlight here is actually Damian Durham with a dunk. Abraham Davalos, I love you, man, but you are on two of these highlights. You're right there in the hole. Where's your defense at? But Abraham Davalos, one of those ballers with the prospects, one of those sharpshooters as well in this league. All right, so those are some highlights from game 2. Let's get to game 3. Like I said, we had 3 games. Shout out to my man DJ Knox in the building. Coming up in about 4 minutes, we will be doing a remembrance of Martin Luther King Jr. We'll have 2 guests coming on, Brian HRap B Williams and DeAnthony Thompson. We'll be talking about Martin Luther King. So the third game, Louisville Black versus the Pros. And this team, the Pros, actually has former pro players. CJ Carter used to play for the Knicks, also used to play for the Texas Legends, which is the G League team here in Dallas-Fort Worth. Kevin Booz getting it going early. Shout out to Kevin Booz with some nice jumpers, nice plays. Marcus Brooks with a nice fast-paced dunk. Marcus Brooks also that does double time as a commentator doing some of the games. At halftime, it was a really close game. In the third quarter, it was 29-30. I was really wondering who was going to pull this game out. Then CJ Carter got it going with his mid-range game. Malcolm Oakes also getting it going. And also Yasha Matu getting it going as well throughout the game. And the Pros started pulling away. I thought Louisville Black was going to come back. It ended up not being as close, but ended up 67-52. Can Louisville Black come back? I had that down in my notes. They weren't able to do it. Aldrich Hills with some key buckets late in the game for the Pros. Sterling Sanders with a big dunk, pretty much sealing it, and the game ended 67-52. Yasha Matu with a decent game, 12 points, 5 rebounds, 2 steals. Sterling Sanders, 13 points, 4 rebounds. And then CJ Carter, former NBA Knick player, 10 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists. Marcus Brooks, 24 and 6. Big shout out to him. And then Kevin Booz, I mentioned his name, 14 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists. That was a close game. Even though the score didn't ended up being as close, it was a close game down the stretch. It just ended up being that Louisville Black was not able to get buckets. So let's get to some highlights of this last game, and then we will get into remembering Martin Luther King Jr. This first one is an alley-oop to CJ Carter. Check this out.
Anderson finished that one. And a showtime play for the Pros.
His head was over the rim. That's hops right there. That is hops right there. Let's go to this next highlight. Terrell Jones with a drive to the hole.
No.
Nice one-leg Dirk type jumper. Let's get to this next highlight. Yasha Matu with a nice fast break dunk.
Is off the mark. Yasha Matu has it. And he dunks it home.
That's what you call catching a body right there. And this last one is Marcus Brooks with a 3 at the top of the key. Sweet lefty 3. Does not get any better than that. So that was the 3 games, Creating Young Minds Undiscovered League. You can tune in next Sunday, creatingyoungminds.uscreen.io. I know most of you guys that are watching are not in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, but if you are, you can watch the games live. So that is something that you can do. It'll be next Sunday at 12 Central, which is 1 Eastern. The link down below, you'll be able to check that out. All right, so let's smooth transition over to our next segment. Shout out to Chief Rock of Jersey Vern. Thank you for coming through. Had a great show earlier today on Spreaker.com. That boy does have hops. Your head is almost hitting the rim. That's hops right there. So we're going to get into the next segment, Remembrance of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., my Morehouse brother. We got 2 guests coming on. We got HRap B. We got DeAnthony Thompson. Let's bring them in as we do a remembrance. I felt that this was right on the day that we pay homage to him. All right, let's get to the guests. What's going on?
Hey, can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you good.
Good. Got a pretty good connection, man. I'm in that building.
All right, HRap.
Yeah, I'm in the building.
All right, man. Good to see y'all. This is the first time, the 3 of us and pairing you 2 together. You guys got a good mindset and some good comments that the times you've been on the show. So I figured this would be a really good time to get this group together. But first off, HRap, introduce yourself to those that may not know you.
As you stated, I'm Brian HRap B. Williams. I'm the host and co-owner of Built for This Network. Host a couple shows. The End of the Bench podcast, Sports End of the Bench podcast, Building the Stories. Sports is self-explanatory. Building the Stories is a podcast about our community, empowering people in our community, giving us information, history, health and wellness, and things of that nature. I think it's needed, so I created it. And then I'm currently in production of a 3rd podcast called A Living History. I'm talking about people from all walks of life. No matter what your history is, everybody has a story to tell, or if you want to be coming from a religious perspective, a testimony. So I'm going to talk to seniors. I have 4 celebrities already in the can, and I got a couple other people already in the can. When I get 12 episodes, I'm going to release them week by week. That gives me 12 more weeks to come up with 12 new people.
Yes, nice, dope. You definitely need to get DeAnthony on then, man. He's got be a really good guest. I'll make sure to connect you guys, phone numbers and everything. All right, DeAnthony, introduce yourself. People may not know you.
Man, Arthur, sports videographer for high school and D2, D3 collegiate sports. Thinker, reader, Black history lover, just to name a few. So, and I'm somebody that's deeply impacted by our community. I've had a charity, well, not now, but about probably 3 years ago, for about 3 years. We did a ton of work in the city of Dallas, man, in Fort Worth. So I got background in that. So anything that's empowerment related, I'm all for that.
Awesome. Great to get both of you guys on the show. We got Chief Rocka commenting in the chat, and we're live on YouTube, we're live on Facebook, and we're live on Twitter. So wherever you're listening, give us a comment, share something, and we'll definitely shout you out. So Martin Luther King Jr. Day was today. It is today for those that are not, for most of everybody. But this is not his actual birthday. Most people probably do know that, but his birthday is actually the 15th. He was born January 15, 1929, and he's done so much. He's impacted so many different arenas and so many different people. But I wanted to bring you guys on just to really do a remembrance of him, and also share some different stories and different things that people may not know. So, HRap, I'll go to you first. I know you growing up in Chicago, and you're older than both of us, but share share a memory or share something that people may not know about Martin Luther King Jr.?
Well, I think a lot of, due to the internet, I think this was the first thing I'm gonna talk about. It may be known, but I've noticed over the last few days it's not. At age 5, he had to change his name. He wasn't born Martin Luther King.
Mm-hmm.
His father had a spiritual awakening. He comes from a long line of clergymen or men of God, so to speak. His grandfather, his father, and he had a spiritual awakening. And at age 5, he changed his name from Michael King to Martin Luther. His younger brother called him Mike until he passed away. He never called him Martin. But another thing is he skipped the 9th and the 12th grade. He was accepted into college. I think it's Morehouse University at age 15. And believe it or not, at age 24, a person who's able at age 24 to obtain his first PhD and his second bachelor's degree didn't get good grades in elementary school. So for those young people who are listening and thinking, hey, man, it's about the grades, it's about this. No, not the great Dr. King graduating and having a PhD at age 24. And a lot of us not even out of undergrad at 24.
Right.
Did not get good grades. And it's not a reflection of how intelligent you are. It's possibly a reflection of you applying yourself to whatever you need to do, and he didn't want to be a pastor. Yep. So he wanted to break away from the family tradition. And again,
Yeah. That's a great comment. And that was one of the things that I've read today and last week as I was kind of researching this. But yeah, he went into college at 15, Morehouse College, enrolled 1944. That was the alma mater of his father and grandfather. And that's my alma mater too. So we are Morehouse brothers. And he has a statue on the campus. For those of you that have not been there, he has a statue on the campus of basically him pointing. And that's going to that school. Obviously, Martin Luther King went there. So be able to walk in the areas and the places where he walked, to me, that's one of the biggest memories I've ever had for going to that university. But DeAnthony, I'll go to you.
I think, oh man, when you're talking about Dr. King, you're talking about a selfless leader. And I think to me, what I love about Dr. King is you couldn't conquer him with the money. He was truly for the people. And in fact, toward the end of his life, many say that he was starting to become radical in the sense of reparations and different type of movements of such. I think that's something that doesn't get enough, play in the media. We hear "I Have a Dream" here, but Dr. King, before he died, he said, it was a speech, but the end of it was, "We coming to get our check." So he was a man that was truly about the people, and I think that's so rare. That's rare to have a big time leader that's still about the people, that was still meeting. In fact, I'm gonna tell you a cool story, man. I worked at the radio station for a few years. I had a guy named, I think, Peter Johnson. He was from Dallas. They used to go to Louisiana and march and stuff like that. He said that Dr. King would get so engrossed in the movement that he'd get up in the room, motel room, and see pieces of paper that said, "I need to call Charlene." I'm making this name up, but he would start what he's doing, whether it be at night, and call that person back. That told me what type of leader he was, a leader that really tried to connect with the people. And that's something that we're missing nowadays.
Yeah. And the people's leader. I mean, you're right. Yeah. What he did was for himself, but it was more so for the people around him and the inequality that he's seen. And you're right. There are a lot more stories that we're seeing that he was partnering with Malcolm X. Now, man, I wish we would have been able to hear like what they would have done together. I think would have been amazing, would have been transcending even what they did separately, probably. Chief Rocket says people here in Atlanta don't appreciate him like other around the country. I've been here in Atlanta for 23 years and don't feel the love that he deserves. And you definitely could be right there. Oh, go ahead, DeAnthony.
I think another point is we live in a society where everybody wants to be woke, and that's a cool word to me. I don't mind it, but you don't want to be so woke that you begin to disrespect the leaders that came before you. can you imagine living every day with the threat of your life being over? Like you got so many of these keyboard warriors that talk down on Dr. King and say, well, he caused integration and that hasn't benefited us. But just from a standpoint of him doing what he thought was right, every day his life was he was, you know, bomb threats, and his life was a risk. I think, to me, that doesn't get enough respect. Many guys can talk about leadership, but when you're getting threatened every day, that's a different type of stress that's on your life.
Yeah, that's a whole nother level, because I think we may feel like our days are stressed, or we may feel like there's things that we experience, but walking down the street and being just water hosed at random, like I don't know if any of us have ever felt that type of racism or scrutiny to you just because you were you. And one interesting fact I wanted to pull up here: he was arrested, imprisoned nearly 30 times. According to the King Center, the civil rights leader went to jail 29 times. He was arrested for acts of civil disobedience and on Trump charges, such as when he was jailed in Montgomery, Alabama in 1956 for driving 30 miles per hour in a 25 per hour zone. Now,
wow,
yeah, like that many times, and that wasn't for him. That was for what he like truly believed in. And you know, it's one of those guys that as we're getting older and as we have kids, we have to teach them, like you were saying, DeAnthony, what he did. And it's not just about, you know, being able to watch a movie or whatever on that day. It's talking about it every day and talking about the things that he did.
Oh yeah. I don't know if brother want to go ahead and chime in a little bit.
Oh yeah. Another one of the things that people don't respect about Dr. King is his international reach. You know, with people like Malcolm X and Dr. King, as you stated, their life was under constant pressure. So people just go, oh, he was murdered. Yeah, he was murdered, but he was under constant pressure from the United States federal government, from other branches like the CIA, the FBI. You have white nationalist groups, because I don't call them white supremacists because they're not supreme in anything. But you got white nationalist groups attempting to cause harm to the ancestor. And one of the things that people don't understand is one of the very first nations on the continent of Africa that was emancipated was Ghana. Kwame Nkrumah was the dude who was going to be president. He invited Dr. King and the late great Coretta Scott King to the inauguration, and that set off a series of events that he started when he was over there. He gave this speech, and people don't know is on the March on Washington isn't the first time he spoke at that monument. The first time he spoke at it was when he came back from Ghana and was talking about, he was running the numbers. He was talking about how we are not the minority, we are the global majority. We have a connection to those people over there. Those are our people. And so, you know, when we think of Dr. King, we think about him in the context of these 48 states, Hawaii and Alaska. But this is an international brother who was respected worldwide. And even though, to show you how great he was, even though he understood the problematic nature of following a guy, a racist, to be honest, like Mahatma Gandhi, he still took on his tenets and lived them. It wasn't just, hey, I'm Dr. King, I'm doing this. This is my way of life. This is a dude that, I mean, it's so many details left out of his life, like the fact that pretty much Malcolm X, he didn't predict it, but he gave the details on how Dr. King's mother ended up getting killed. Malcolm X made the statement before he was murdered: the United States federal government will get one of us to kill one of us just so they could say it was one of us. And a black man walked into a church and killed Dr. King's mother. And in 1977, the United States federal government had to pay a wrongful death lawsuit for the assassination of Martin Luther King. So just realize the layers that come along with people like Dr. King and Malcolm X and Student Nonviolent Coalition and Whitney Young and these guys. I mean, we salute our ancestor, Dr. King, but he's kind of like the poster child for civil rights. And there are levels of brothers and ancestors that are right up under him. And he a hell of a poster child. You know, he's the face, he's the George Washington on Mount Rushmore. Right. So, you know, and what annoys me about when people talk about our ancestor, Dr. King, is when they try to put in today's text what he did. Well, he shouldn't have done this and he should have done. Yeah, it's easy to say that as you're reaping the benefits of his work.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. You know, so I don't think he's celebrated enough. You know,
yeah.
I don't think the people in our community celebrate him enough. I don't think, you know, because, you know, at the risk of sounding blasphemous, I liken him to Jesus. And what I mean by that is people who don't read the Bible, who just listen to the pastor, they think Jesus was this, oh, please don't hurt me kind of guy. Jesus didn't play no games. Mm-hmm. And as the brother stated, towards the end of his life, he started becoming radicalized because a week before he passed, he told Harry Belafonte, I believe I've integrated my people into a burning house. That's a dude who's starting to say, you know what, I'm still not going to attack anybody, but enough of this kumbaya. Mm-hmm. My folks need this. And that's how Jesus was. You know, again, at the risk of sounding coming off as blasphemous, I don't want to disrespect anybody's religion. It's just the parallels that I'm showing.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know, the story of Jesus going into the temple, into the church place, and they're selling stuff and he turning tables. Like, I mean, it's like you making my house, my father's house, a den of thieves. And so, yes, there is some of both. There isn't just Jesus just went around and hugged everybody, which he did do that, but there's also like consequences to everything. And so definitely. And also I wanted to add to what you were saying, like every day, like we talk about the times that the assassination plot or the murder was successful, but all the other times that it was not successful. There was not Twitter, there was TV, but the stuff, you know, I'm sure the stuff wasn't on there. So like you got to think of all the amount of times that things could have happened, but the plan failed. That's a hard way to live. I mean, that's like drug dealer life. You know, if you go back to, you know, you always looking over your shoulder. Mm-hmm. So I mean, yeah. Let's give some quick shout outs. We got Irene Hunt. She's commenting the chief. Thank you for coming through. Christopher Pollard. Got the Morris Brown College logo on there. Shout out to you. Also, Relo checking in. His name is Newport 100. Relo, excuse me. Thank you for coming through. All right, so I wanted to read quotes as we're going through tonight's show. One of them, we must use time creatively in the knowledge that time is always ripe to do right. That was one of the quotes here by Martin Luther King, Dr. Martin Luther King. King's, I don't know if some of us know this, but King's last public speech foretold his death. So King had come to Memphis in April 1968 to support the strike of the city's black garbage workers. And in a speech on the night before his assassination, this is when the quote, like anybody, I would like to live a long life. Longevity has its place, but I'm not concerned about that now. I've seen the promised land. I may not get there with you, but I want you to know tonight that we as a people will get to the promised land. And I'm happy tonight. I'm not worried about anything. I'm not fearing any man. My eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord. And I think a lot of us have seen that quote, but you got to be just a different type of person to be able to say that and like not leave, like not try to figure out a way to get out of it, but like to accept that's hard. I mean, I don't know as many people that could do that and just be okay with it, knowing that your death is imminent.
Yeah. I think if I just to kind of chime in real quick, I think at that point too, we got to remember that, like he said, Dr. King had went international, and when you go international and see Dr. King, really, man, we really need to go back and listen to what he said. Man, we start talking about the Vietnam War, stuff like that. Now you're the war. Now you're getting into you're getting into you're becoming a type of terrorist threat to the powers that be, because you're speaking on global events, you're speaking on billion-dollar events, war, all that type of stuff. So once he started going down that path of really kind of that awakening, it was only so long that Dr. King was going to live, because he started really kind of like understanding what was going on. Not only was he talking about civil rights, but he started talking about we're spending more money on war than we are improving the services of our community. So once you get into that level, now you're a threat. And I think that's why we say he doesn't get enough respect, because Dr. King understood what we were dealing with from an international perspective. And not many people are willing to speak on that type of thing, especially back then. So that's another perspective that we have to remember as well.
Yeah, true. We got some people coming in. Rhonda S., thank you for coming through. Wolf J, he says RIP MLK, definitely. He says y'all ain't got no views. Well, that's what we working on.
They hating on us. Hey, this that fire. They hating on us.
That's what we working on right now. He said, but I'm here. I appreciate you. Chrisman, hey man, appreciate your support with BS3 Radio. I know I see you liking and giving us a thumbs up on a lot of things we post on Facebook, so I appreciate that. All right, so and I wanted to kind of piggyback off of what HRap said. His mother was also slain by a bullet. So on June 30th, 1974, as 69-year-old Alberta Williams King played the organ at Sunday service inside Ebenezer Baptist Church, Marcus Wayne Chinook Jr. rose from the front pew, drew 2 pistols, and began to fire shots. One of the bullets struck and killed King, who died steps from where her son had preached nonviolence. Now, that I did not know, but you talk about the hate for a family that was only trying to bring equality, which is fair. But they didn't care about fairness. But you think about that's the way that his mother goes out. It's that's just tragic.
Yeah, man. It's a sad commentary, like DeAnthony said. DeAnthony mentioned the fact that his life was in constant threat on his life. Most people don't know about the sister in New York City at a book signing. Dr. King is signing books like, hey, thanks for buying my book. Thanks for buying my book. A sister walks up, put a knife in his chest. According to these, I heard Dr. King. I heard this speech from Dr. King's mouth. Had he sneezed, he'd have died 5 years before he died.
Wow.
So again, and just a little information, and not to glorify Dr. King and belittle anybody, or not to belittle what Dr. King. The brothers and sisters back then, all of them lived at the threat of violence.
Yeah, true.
So what I believe, DeAnthony, that there are and were other brothers and sisters living under that same threat, but those dudes are pushed to the back. And no disrespect to our senior, Reverend Jesse Jackson or Reverend Al Sharpton, but we allow mainstream media to give us those guys. There are literally hundreds and hundreds, especially in places like Atlanta, on the south side of Chicago, in New York City, and New Jersey, of people who are doing the work and nobody even knows who they are.
Yeah. Not getting any credit.
They're not getting any credit. And I love and respect Dr. King, but I just want to say that because, not saying that Dr. King isn't special, but he, those people are still here and they walk the streets and they bust their behinds every day. And because we allow NBC, ABC, Fox, and the rest of these people to put these other people in front of us, those are the same people that don't let you know that, as DeAnthony spoke on the speech that he gave, he was preparing that for what was called the Poor People's Campaign. That's the same reason Brother Fred Hampton was killed literally 4 houses down from where I'm sitting right now, because he got together a group that was called the Hillbillies, poor white people, the Latin Lords, poor Latino people, the Black Panther Party for Self-Defense, he got those people together in one room. You can see it on the very YouTube that we on, and it's a room full of poor white people, poor Latino people, and poor Black people, and he was putting them together. And as DeAnthony said, it becomes a threat.
Yeah. And kind of to go even another step, you notice that whenever those guys, whether it's a Fred Hampton, whether it's MLK, whether it's, they either, some assassination business going on, some, he's jailed. The tactics are over and over again. So I think that's another interesting point why we pay our homage to Dr. King. It was so many others that went the same way he did that might have not been as big as he was. So we got to remember that too.
Yeah. Yeah. And speaking of Fred Hampton, that you brought him up, there is a movie that will be releasing February the 12th. It's called Judas and the Black Messiah. And this is on Fred Hampton, and the guy playing him is what's the guy's name? He was in Black Panther. Daniel.
Yeah, somebody pretty popular, I think.
Yep.
Was it not Jordan? Is it?
It's the brother from Get Out.
Yep.
Okay. Okay.
So that's coming out. So that's definitely something that we should watch. Chris Chrisman says there are some people who talk about nonviolence, but they talk the talk, but don't walk the walk. That's true. That's definitely true. Yeah. Dr. King, a lot of things that some may not even know about before he was killed. That's true. That's definitely true.
And my man Rello, he mentioned Adam Clayton Powell. Adam Clayton Powell was like the big mouth version of Dr. King. He was Adam Clayton Powell was the type of dude who, had they killed him, it might have been a riot in the street, because he had. If you watch that television show, what is it, Harlem, or The Last King of Harlem, or Kings of Harlem, with Forrest Whitaker playing Bumpy Johnson.
Oh yeah, I remember.
He's Giancarlo Stanton's character. That brother was another powerful brother. I'm telling you, he was like the total opposite. Not in regards to the ultimate goal, but Dr. King was docile tone. He got his point across. Adam Clayton Powell was in your face, poking you in your forehead, and was challenging you if you wanted the act happen. And the reason I bring him up is he the dude who introduced kindergarten hairstyle. He's the reason we have that, because he wasn't playing no games, and he was a pastor too, one of the biggest churches in New York City. Yep. So that's what I'm saying, man. It's just Dr. King is the top of the pyramid, and the pyramid is infinite.
Yeah, that's true.
The dude who I my name from HRap Brian.
Yep. When I seen HRap B, and then I was watching the documentary, and I was like, whoa, HRap Brown. That's where he got that from. But I was,
And that's a guy that doesn't get enough respect. I mean, we can really go down the list, but he doesn't get enough respect. To me, he's really forgotten. He's been in jail for so long. Like, man, we forget about some of these heroes that we got. Real talk.
That's true. That's true.
And hey, did you know, DeAnthony, that the dude who actually committed the murder that HRap is in jail for came out and said he did it?
Wow. And he's still locked up.
He has cancer.
Yeah.
In a federal prison in Georgia right now. While it is a guy who openly said, that cop I killed.
Wow.
Yeah.
See, that's a whole.
And there's so many stories like that too. That's not the only one.
You're dealing with. You're trying to fight for what's right, and then dealing with a twisted, corrupt justice system. That's almost damn if you do, damn if you don't. Like, you're getting it from both perspectives, man. That's really make you think.
Yeah. Shout out to Cedric Trotter. He said, knowledge. Thank you for coming through. So the comment, the quote of Adam Clayton Powell was, a dream, I got a plan. And a little bit of history on him. He was born in 1908, November 29th. He was a Baptist pastor and an American politician who represented the Harlem neighborhood of New York City, and the first African-American to be elected from New York to Congress. So there's there's some history. I knew I was doing something right when I got HRap on the show. I knew it. Dropping knowledge. I knew it.
Anytime, brother.
I knew it. So another interesting fact is we're talking about Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and we're talking about the impact of him. Like we're going to get to that in a minute. But George Washington is the only other American to have had a birthday observed as a national holiday. In 1983, President Ronald Reagan signed a bill that created a federal holiday to honor King. This holiday first commemorated in 1986. It's celebrated on the third Monday in January, close to his birthday, which is the 15th. And one thing I'll say, in my household, since I started to remember things, we always sang the Stevie Wonder version of Happy Birthday. We always did the first one, to get that out of the way. And then my dad was always like, now let's do the Stevie Wonder version. He always, that's what I do. Like we don't just sing regular Happy Birthday. We got to do Stevie Wonder because that's the real version.
The only version.
The only version, exactly. We got comments coming through. Cedric Trotter, what's good, family? Godfather of Harlem is the movie, the show, which I need to see that. Marquise Chapman, thank you for coming through. And Rhonda says, wow, I had no idea. Great information being shared. Yes, thank you for coming through. I got 2 heavy hitters on, so I know it's going to be some knowledge that's going to be dropped tonight. All right, so as we go throughout, like I said, we'll have some quotes here by Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. One of them is, an individual has not started living until he can rise above the narrow confines of his individualist concerns to the broader concerns of all humanity. That's wow.
That's a handful.
Yeah,
that's really, it made me think about like him as a leader, and like I said earlier about him not being bought off. That's the thing with that. Like, you got so many leaders. If they're threatened, if they're bought off, they're pushed to the side. Dr. King, for all he had, he didn't let that. Like, you can't let money. He had a quote on that. Like, a leader can't love money. He didn't let the publicity disrupt the mission. And I think that's something that's admirable because nowadays, man, any little adversity, any little threat, any little jail time, people are squealing. People are not willing to endure the pain that comes with being a great leader. And I think him willing to put on that armor and go forward. He was talked about, he was mocked, even from his own people. But to go through that and still carry that armor, that's another perspective, man. He wasn't a sellout. A lot of people say he wasn't a sellout, man. And that, to me, that quote goes to that in my viewpoint.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely agree there. And when you think of him, you think of everything that he's done, but this article I have has 123 quotes that you could go through and probably live your life on, based on the things that he said. One thing I did want to bring up is that let me think. I lost my oh no. So one thing, the letter from the Birmingham jail.
That's powerful.
As we draw a comparison to Paul writing letters, like he was writing letters from jail. That to me is like a comparison. Like when you could just be down and out, and I don't care about anybody. I'm just gonna ride this time out. He picked up a pen and said, "I'm gonna write a letter." Like that goes back to those books in the Bibles, Corinthians and Ephesians, and those where he was writing letters to say, hey, I may not be there, but do this, or hey, I may not be there, but here's something that can uplift you. And to me, that's a different mindset. That's not just the regular, I'm just gonna ride my time out and I hate the world. That wasn't his mindset.
Mm-hmm.
Did you want to add to that, HRap?
Yeah, I mean, one of the great things about him is, and I learned this from Kwame Ture, born in Stokely Carmichael. He was like, because he was like Dr. King's underling. He would have been Jesse Jackson had he not breached off into his own situation. And what he said, and I never thought about it, and it was dope. He was like, you know what? I'm gonna tell you the greatness of Dr. King. He was like, he was my friend. And he was like, he's like, first of all, he was my friend. And the most impressive thing about the great Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. is this. He was like, started with myself, I attacked him. HRap Brown attacked him. Malcolm X attacked him. The United States federal government attacked him. He had several people, he said most people in our community didn't like him. And he never said one bad word back.
Mm.
And I was like, yeah, that's powerful, man. When you know you're doing right and the whole world says you're wrong, the very people that you're standing up for, like Bernie, hey, go to Twitter and look up Bernice King. Bernice King was not playing today. She pretty much like most of y'all ain't like my father.
Yeah. And just to bring up something else real quick, I think, you got Jesse, you got some of those other people. None of them was King, because in the face of adversity, many men buckle, and they buckle in their own way, and it may not be out publicly. But to me, King's facing death, he didn't have a way out, or he didn't take a way out. That you commend that, because a lot of guys take ways out, whether it's take a little money, don't speak on this. Many do that, even to this day. But for him to say, I'm just gonna go, I'm gonna face this head on like a man, you gotta tip your hat to something like that. Because many say they will, but when you're getting those threatening calls at 3 a.m, your family, many will say, well, I'll pull away because I don't want to bring that to my family. But King was so mission oriented that he didn't let that bother him. And I think that made those powers that be, quote unquote, afraid, is that we can't shut them up.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, real quick, Newport 100 just gave BS3 Radio its first super chat, $4.99. I appreciate that, man. If I had a clap track, I would do it right now. I'm a clap, man. I appreciate that. He said, he said, I said Dr. King. He said, oops, I thought you was somebody else. That's a quote from Coming to America. That's a top 5 movie. I don't care what nobody say. I don't care what anybody say, because they're gonna be coming out with the sequel in March. But anyway, that's a really great quote there. Jesse took the check. When it
and that's the point I was making a while ago. Many was compromised, but to me, Dr. King was the one to say, I'm gonna go out with a fight. Many got quiet when the money came and when the threats came.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Hey, fun fact, I have a friend. I'm not gonna say where he works, but we know where he works. Okay, he worked with some of the Alphabet Boys. Let's put it that way. And he personally told me people with the Alphabet people was like, King and X couldn't be touched. It's like, forget the indiscretions that people like to talk about. He was like, you couldn't touch either one of them with what my man DeAnthony is talking about. They wasn't going.
That's deep. I don't think we understand how deep that is. You got 100 people, man. 90 gonna buckle.
Yeah.
More probably.
Yeah. That's
probably 95, DeAnthony.
Yeah.
Because as my man Rello just said, somehow, some way, our brother Reverend Jackson has a Pepsi dispensary. I ain't gonna say nothing else. You know how that happened.
No disrespect to the elders.
Right.
Yeah. No straight cash, homie.
Right.
So that's so true. There's so people, and I'm gonna go on a little bit of a tangent here, but there's so many people that, and this is just like in everyday life, they get married, and like the minute like something bad happens, they run. I'm like, that's just like I'm not gonna say that I got it all figured out, but I'm gonna say there's struggles and things that you go through, and if you just run from it, you're not growing from it. You just end up doing the same thing again when you get in the next relationship. So like relating that to this, like he knew that one day it's going to be over for me. And did he say, no, I'm just not going to do that anymore? Well, I know what, I know this is what the end of the road is going to be. He said, no, I'm going to continue to go at this until my number is called, basically.
Yeah. And I had a quick one. I had a broadcasting friend who's been in the industry for a long time, and he interviewed Coretta, and Coretta had told him that Dr. King lived every day like it was his last, and that had an impact on the broadcaster friend. So that just let you know that every day, like you're just getting up getting ice cream, this might be it. He lived every day like it was his last.
Yeah. Let's get to another quote as we're going through this awesome show tonight. He said, there can be no deep disappointment where there is not deep love. Wow. Wow.
That's a deep.
Let me read that one more time. Let me go back to it. There can be no deep disappointment where there is not deep love. Wow. Ooh, I need to put these up on my wall somewhere. Like this
man, it's powerful. It's. But again, man, DeAnthony said it early in the show. It's not a whole lot of these people walking around, man.
Yeah,
it's not. And, and like DeAnthony said earlier, he knew he was gonna die. Like when you read the Malcolm X biography, this dude, like if you've watched that movie One Night in Miami, it showed. Think about how quick the powers that be will take you away. Muhammad Ali won the heavyweight championship. Him, what's my man name? Jim Brown. What's his change? Sam Cooke and Malcolm X.
Was it Jabbar?
No, Malcolm X. There are four of them. It's a movie called One Night in Miami. They all convened at Malcolm X's room. Malcolm X is assassinated 360 days later. Sam Cooke is tragically taken away from us 11 months later. 6 years later? Well, not even 6 years. That was 65. 3 years later, no more Dr. King.
Wow.
Oh, just amen.
Yeah. If the things that they plan to do would have come forth, man.
That was the biggest threat. Like we talk about with Dr. King or with Malcolm or with Fred Hampton. You're talking about these guys were actively planning. They were actively trying to come up with solutions, and it's in that unity. It's in that connecting that brain trust and power that they're afraid of. They don't care about your fight. They don't care about. But when you're trying to collectively put your hands together and say, how can we uplift this thing? That's what they're afraid of. And in essence, that's what we're missing now. We're missing those leaders who can bring all sides together and say, let's do it for our people, not for ourselves, not for our money, not for our platform, but truly for our people. And that's a threat. That unity is a true threat.
Right, true. And to kind of, as we're talking about this right now, one of the articles that I found is that in early 1968, he was calling for a poor people's campaign. And so in the early months of 1968, King toured the South and began to draw up interest and raise funds for the Poor People's Campaign, which he had initiated and was supposed to lead later that spring. Obviously, we know that he died a month later. On March 20th, he addressed a rally in a small majority Black town of Utah in western Alabama. He called for 1 million people to converge on the nation's capital to lobby. Now, like what we've been talking about, if you're trying to knock down the way this thing is ran, the way this class system is ran, if you're trying to uplift poor people, you're trying to mess up the system. Now, let's keep the poor people down here so we can still be up here. Mm-hmm. Like he was so much of looking to helping people that he died for it. And he knew that he was, like we've been saying.
Yeah, man. I mean, I'm fearful for Stacey Abrams right now. because she's definitely trying to overturn.
She has.
And
that was in Georgia. That was in Georgia. Imagine if she takes this thing on the road.
Oh no, actually, she has already.
She has already. She's in Alabama. She's in Mississippi. See, I mentioned this on my show Saturday, Ben, because we live in major cities like you live in Dallas. Where you live at, DeAnthony?
I'm in Dallas too.
Okay, y'all in Dallas. I'm in Chicago. You know, Rocker down in Atlanta. Some of the people in the chat in Chicago or wherever and all over the country. We live in major cities. To this day, the majority of black people live below the Mason-Dixon line. People don't realize that. Now, here's the caveat. Most of the broke people live in the cities. How crazy is that? What does that tell you? That it's value in land.
Yeah.
It's value in being around each other.
Yeah.
Because if the broke people live in New York, Chicago, Detroit, Dallas, LA, San Francisco, Oakland, and the people who are doing better are where most of us are. That's why Stacey hitting those down. That's why Stacey knocking on doors in Tennessee. She's knocking on doors in Mississippi and Kentucky and Alabama and Louisiana. Because the moment everybody started listening to Stacey, that's why, remember last week we were on the show, Ben, was last week or 2 weeks ago, when I said people keep talking about the end of the world, but it ain't the end of the earth. It's the end of the world as you know it.
Yeah. It's the end of the world for certain people.
Yeah.
If we rewind back to 2 weeks ago, the reason why they did all of that, because it's the end of the world for them.
Yes.
It's the end of the world for everybody. That's the thing. Shout out to Courtney Harden. Thank you for coming through. William Gatewood. Thank you for coming through. I appreciate that. Newport 100 says she laid her light. Maybe saying she laid her light down.
Right. Yeah. Lit. This is
lit
Chicago.
Down. She laid her lit down.
That's a Chicago thing.
Yes.
All right. Man. All right, so let's get to another quote as we're going throughout tonight. Man must evolve from all human conflict, a method which rejects revenge, aggression, and retaliation. The foundation of such a method is love. And that equals love, what he just said there.
Yeah.
So let's get into the impact of Martin Luther King. We talked about some people that came after him. We also, and all of us are into sports, we talk about the impact of like sports. Like right now, today, it's later on, but they've been doing stuff all day. You know, they've been having basketball players talk about it. They got jerseys. I mean, the impact of what he's done transcends across all avenues and areas. But HRap, you want to share something that, what he's impact that maybe we may not think about a lot.
I mean, the whole concept of people standing up. Realize those athletes didn't come together. Jim Brown, what's his name? Jackie Robinson, Oscar Robertson. People don't give Jackie and Oscar enough credit either, but Jim Brown, Jackie Robinson, Oscar Robertson, they don't get them enough. That 68 convention that they had to protect Muhammad Ali, that was after the brother Malcolm was assassinated. And people don't connect it to realize all those guys were in that room. Dr. King, Ernie, Ernie, the one from the movie with the train or whatever it was called. He was the guy who came behind Jim Brown at Syracuse.
Ernie Sims.
Ernie Sims was there. All these powerful brothers. Yeah. Ernie something. I never get his name. But that started after. Remember, that's the Summer Olympics. Kareem didn't go to the Summer Olympics because of what was happening with Dr. King and those brothers. Muhammad Ali was already in full effect. So Dr. King, his imagery, the way he did things, set things in motions for years to come. Huey P. Newton them said, forget it then. We're going to use the law. We're going to use the law to fight y'all. And what I believe is overlooked from Dr. King, Malcolm X, Whitney, these were not dudes my age. I'm 50.
Yeah.
Dr. King and Malcolm X never saw 50. Dr. King was killed like 36. So take that 10 years back. 26-year-old man. Right, this is a 26-year-old man doing this. DeAnthony mentioned that his life with Ernie Davis. Thank you, Courtney.
Ernie Davis, yeah, I looked it up too. Yeah.
Yeah, Dr. King was a young guy. These guys were what we would consider kids. These are the dudes that people go, man, he's still a young boy. Don't worry about him. They were out there fighting the world. So we think it's special when a Colin Kaepernick steps up, when a Kyrie or LeBron or one of these dudes step up. But nah, that's the age you're supposed to be fighting. You're supposed to be tapering off around y'all age, and guys like me supposed to be providing counsel to these young men who are doing this. So Dr. King set the pace. I don't give a damn. At this point, man, those brothers from the 60s, there's nothing ever accomplished in America. You know, we don't think about Fannie Lou Hamer and think, man, it's so many people that, you know, we honor our brother, our ancestor, Dr. King. But the crazy part is, you know what? I liken him to Jesus initially, but since we talk about sports, how about this? Dr. King, at the end of the day, would be the Jackie Robinson of his people, of his day.
Yeah,
he was the guy. Because remember, if you know anything about Student Nonviolent Coalition and the Southern Methodist guys, they were like, yeah, Ralph, you got it, but this is our guy.
Yeah,
you know. So the man was so great that he took on a mission at age 26. He took on a mission that he knew. He said, hey, think about this, man. Dr. King took on a mission that just got our ancestor, Medgar Evers, assassinated. Yeah. He said, I'm still down. That's, we always talk about that's a grown man. That's a grown man.
That's a grown man doing grown things right there.
Right.
Yeah, true.
Oh yeah, man. Thank you for the Davis. I never remember his name is Davis, man.
There's a movie. I think I mentioned this on a show before. It's called Let me make sure I get it right. I think it's called Not Your Negro or Not My. Yeah, I Am Not Your Negro. It was a 2016 documentary, and James Baldwin wrote a letter to his literacy agent describing his next project, Remember This House. The book was to be revolutionary, personal account of the lives and assassination of the three of his close friends, Medgar Evers, Malcolm X, and Martin Luther King Jr. And it was narrated, I believe it was narrated by
I think Morgan Freeman.
Or Samuel Jackson. I think Samuel Jackson. But that was really good how it broke down, the different aspects and being able to basically James Baldwin was telling the story. So that's definitely one to check out. Courtney says, I went to Ernie Davis Jr. High School. He's from his hometown of Elmira, New York. Yep.
Oh, if anybody wants to really get to know Dr. King wrote several books. Here's some of the more powerful ones. Strive Towards Freedom, Strength to Love, Why We Can't Wait, and one for the ages is this book called Where Do We Go From Here? It's Where Do We Go From Here? From Chaos of the Community.
Wow.
Those are his books. Those are his words.
Yeah.
And the first one, in the forward, he said he thanks Coretta. He's like, thank you to my queen, my business partner. And again, shows you he's selfless. Like, people don't think of Coretta Scott King people don't think of Betty Shabazz. But bruh, how DeAnthony said it. How you go around every day knowing you gonna get murdered? But here goes something else. How do you do it knowing you got a wife and kids and you probably don't have no insurance, you don't have no damn pension.
Yeah.
Don't have no real security.
Exactly. You got California paying for your funeral and somebody else paid for Malcolm X's funeral because they ain't have insurance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you out there saying it with your chest.
Yeah.
Right. Say it with your life, like your life on the line. Go ahead.
You kind of were saying like, what's the impact and kind of tying it into sports. To me, the two impacts is, number one, if you're an athlete, become knowledgeable of the world. Dr. King was a guy that he wanted to know what was going on. And once he knew what was going on, if he was convicted, he was going to speak on it. So know what's going on. And then number two, I would say, I wish some of these guys would really put their heads together. Like we seen some of those old school guys did back in the 60s. Y'all got the money. Put your heads together and see what can we do as athletes. They're not going to solve all our problems, because they're athletes. They're not politicians. But if they can have the same vigor of a Dr. King when it says we love our communities, I think those are two big things. Become knowledgeable of what's going on, and then team up, put your head together to see how can we impact maybe just the areas are we from, or maybe just our families. I think that's kind of two ways to me that his impact can live as we tie it into sports as well.
Right. And then the money, like the amount of money that they have individually, you put that together, like, good Lord, what they'll be able to do. And when we had that stoppage in the bubble, and the Lakers and the Clippers were like, we're done. I was like, where are they going to go from here? Now I don't know what exactly they did. Now I know they got the owners involved and stuff like that, but like the amount of money that they have and them sitting down, like DeAnthony was talking about, the brain trust, the ideas that they have, the people that they have probably in their pockets that can really truly do something.
But you see this,
I haven't seen it. I haven't seen it yet.
The scary thing, though, I think what that is, and another guy, Muhammad Ali, we don't give him but he deserves more credit. I think, where are those guys like that? They're not only willing to put their money, but truly, it's like I think so many of our athletes now, they're not really thinking for themselves. They're kind of like mouthpieces for whether it's a certain movement, a certain organization. How many of them truly themselves know what's going on and they can impact it, or can they do it without stepping over the toes of corporate? I think it's an interesting point where it's like many are kind of trapped where they can't really say what they feel, risking endorsements and stuff. Where you had a guy like Ali, he said what he felt. I mean, just straight up. And I think those are two things we see now. Now a lot of athletes are really crippled. They can't really say what they mean for the lack of not offending anyone.
Right. That's true.
Yep.
DeAnthony, I think they don't want to because they're brand ambassadors.
I agree. I agree with that too.
You being nice. I feel you don't want to, but no, they don't want to because okay, if you speak up now, LeBron James shows you, Muhammad Ali and LeBron James shows you. If you want to step up, you will. The good people gonna follow you no matter what, because right is right, wrong is wrong, and there are it's 300 million people in America alone. So if you want to say do the right thing, the right people gonna follow you. And one thing I've been meaning to say this on my show. This is not a sports show, but I've been meaning to say this on my show, on the show that's on tomorrow, the sports show. I'm sick of people. Let me say this at the beginning. I'm not a Michael Jordan fan at all. Period. Not even a little bit. Not even 1%. I mean, I respected it. The game was awesome. I enjoyed it, but I'm not 1% a fan, right? Yeah. But I'm tired of people piling on Michael Jordan. Like to piggyback off what you said, I'm tired of people piling on him like he was the only solid athlete in the 80s.
Right.
People act like he was the only one that was doing this. Name me somebody who was talking. Now, Isaiah Thomas, who I'm a gigantic fan of, behind the scenes, he was getting women put in locker rooms as reporters. He was making the league make women referees and stuff like that. But we don't know that. You have to be a gigantic fan to know that. But people make Michael Jordan the poster child for not talking, and that's not true. None of those guys were talking. None of them.
Yeah.
If any,
that's true.
What did you hear? Ray Leonard, Charles Barkley, Marvin Hagler. You didn't hear any of those guys saying anything. So let's just, again, if we stop figuring out ways to tear each other down, we mess around and figure out the problem.
Right.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. And also, you know, this was a quote on Nas's latest album, and he was talking about, like, Michael Jordan did things, but it just wasn't showed. Like, we see LeBron doing the school. We see LeBron when he does these things. And honestly, like, social media has changed everything. You know, when something happens by the second. I knew when Justin Fields wrote a letter and posted it on Twitter because ESPN sent it to me. Like, we know all this stuff because Jordan was doing things, but it wasn't like he wasn't standing up on a mountain like, I just gave $1 million to this person. So that's true. Like, we gotta realize that everyone is doing something at their level. Now, is it what we think they should be doing? Maybe not, but that's their choice. Like, that's their money. Like, whatever he does, it definitely has impacted communities. He's got a hospital, I think, in Charlotte that he opened. That's like
a building this way on a block away. I could run top speed as out of shape as I am and get to that building. It's a rec center. So, and it's behind the library. So you got to walk past the knowledge to get to his joint. So,
yeah,
you know.
So go ahead, DeAnthony.
I was just going to say, man, you know, kind of hearing what you're saying as well, Ben. I wonder, like, how many of these guys are really. It's kind of like, and this is a very tough thing. And I don't think you can expect it if you're not willing to do it. But how many of these guys are willing to give it all up if it came to them or their people? How many would say, "I'm willing to get this up"? Like Kyrie said that, and I thought that was very interesting for him to say that. I'm willing to get this all up to help the people. I don't know what he meant, and we know Kyrie. You know, we don't know Kyrie. You know, but my point is, you know, when Muhammad Ali went to jail. How many would not to jail, but kind of got ostracized for not going into the war? How many would really do that today? And I say that to say, I don't know if many of our athletes understand this fight. It's like they're behind that corporate wall, and I don't really think they want this fight. So even the ones that do stuff, how much of it truly impacts our community, and how much of it is a good photo op for the media? Yeah. How many of them are really doing that grassroots stuff?
Right. How about this though? I feel what you said, but how about looking at it this way? Let's not even ask them to do that. Keep making hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars. And how about this, athletes? Pimp the community. You go to Watts, all those dilapidated homes, rehab them and rent them. You come to the west side or south side of Chicago. Keep making the money. Then just pimp us out. Yeah. Pimp us out. Open up. Tell you what, all the basketball players from all over the country, the ones from Dallas, the ones from LA, Chicago, wherever you from, make a chain grocery store called Ballers. The ball players grocery store. And then we'll go there and just shop there. Just keep making the money and do that. Just pimp us out. You know what? The basketball players get together, open up a chain of daycare centers. Pimp us out.
But will they even do that?
That's what I
can they do that? Yeah.
And
you know that kind of remind me like a Nipsey Hussle. I mean, that was a brother that from aside the music, he was doing a lot of things in his community. All of a sudden, we see what happened.
Yeah.
Huh?
Bought the shopping center. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the part, like, that's the part I don't get. I don't get why we do that. Like, and I don't know the backgrounds. I don't know who did it and why they did it and all that. But all I would say is, the guy that's doing the most positive thing, he done some bad things, but like he's completely flipped the script and is doing something that's helping build his community, and that's the guy that ends up getting murdered.
But but this goes back to our conversation, y'all. This goes back to the beginning of our conversation. So sometimes when it's he was killed by his own, don't always take that for what it is, because just as we see these guys doing these big things in the community, others who don't like it are taking notice as well. And that's just what it is.
And I wanted to kind of piggyback off of what DeAnthony said about Kyrie. Kyrie, I think Kyrie is wanting to step away. I really think because when he wasn't playing, you know, he was on like a community like Zoom call or something in his area. I know Kyrie can be a little weird sometimes. I think we all know that. But I think just by his actions, to me, it seems like Kyrie is conflicted right now. I don't know if y'all agree with that or not.
Yeah, I mean, he's in $1 billion business. You know, it seems like he's fighting some internal battles. I don't know what, because I'm not there and I'm not in his circle, but it seemed like he's fighting something internally. But I don't know 100% what it is.
Yeah. And I wanted to respond to a comment that Newport said, "What is a man without a woman?" And that's so true. Like you think about BS3 Radio, which we're just talking about myself. This was an idea from my wife. She was like, "Why don't you do something with this and the things that you want to do?" Like a lot of these things that are they're birthed, like literally and figuratively, from women. Like that's just the truth.
Yeah. And even that made me think about the 60s, 50s, how we had so many of our families, and like once that at the end of that 60s, the black community, the families in the black community went down. I mean, the 60s was a really pivotal time in history. 50s and 60s for black people. It was amazing what came after the 60s, whether it was a crack and all that stuff. Like it was a lot of shifting and a lot of going on to really break up our families. That's another thing that can't be overstated as well.
Right. And is it about offending someone or losing that paper? You know, and that's what we've been talking about.
Yep, probably both.
To what DeAnthony just said, I mentioned this on my show Saturday as well. It was only 900 some odd elected officials, 1960, that looked like us, black people. Now they're over 10,000. 1960, we own businesses, corner stores, grocery stores, dry cleaners. Our literacy rate was higher than 89%. That means 8 and almost 9 out of 10 people were literate. Now we down around 40. We don't own anything. We don't own our homes. Look, this may offend people, but Dr. King was right. The integration thing has done us in. And you can tell, I can remember sitting on my porch as a kid and remember hearing my grandmother's friend brag about how she made the people at Marshall Fields. That was a big change. It's like Chicago's version of Macy's or Bloomingdale's. I made them serve me. And I'm like, we went down there every week until they served us. And I'm like, even as a 8-9-year-old, I'm like, you made them take your money, huh? You made them, because they were talking about the food counter. You made somebody who potentially don't like you make your food.
Right.
But I'm like Dr. Greg, I'm from the African tradition. I just kept the straw in my mouth because in Africa, when you old enough to speak, they say take the straw out your mouth, then you can talk. And then okay, put it back in. That means you can't talk no more. So I kept the straw in my mouth and walked away. I'm like, that didn't make any sense. And we think their ice is colder. So how many people everybody who's in the chat room, us three, we've all heard somebody say, I was the first black person over here.
Yeah.
What do that mean?
Yeah.
You're the first person in this community called the N-word then, huh? You got the first
to me, all that points to Dr. Queen's quote at the end of his life, I done integrated my people into a burning house. Like all that points to us being in a burning house. And I give Dr. Queen credit for seeing it. Because how many people would have admitted it? Right. He's seen it, he admitted it, and that's heavy on a leader like that. I'm pretty sure that broke his heart. Knowing I tried to integrate us, get us ready, and this thing pausing. And I done integrated us something that's just messed up. Yeah.
Rhonda says at the end of the day, no matter how much money those athletes make for those owners, the brothers are still looked at as less than. That's true. If you think about the money that LeBron's latest contract, I think it was, I don't know, 30, 35, 40 a year. How much is the owner? How much is the owner pocketing off of everything? So the thing I want to see the most as we kind of talking about sports is I want them to own teams in every sport. So LeBron, like Steph, all of those guys, you can do it now or when you retire. Own multiple teams, like build I guess it would be a firm or a venture capital business or something where we can own teams and we run it like that. That is what we need to do because the money's already there. We already know that. We already know that we're not necessarily appreciated as much as what we should be. So what are we going to do about it?
How about this? I know we love talking trash about sports. It's what me and you, this is what created our empires, right?
Right.
How about this? Let's not be Maverick fans no more. As a community, this just what if this happened? Let's not be Mavericks, Cowboys, Bears, Bulls, and whatever team we love. And let's all it's only one brother that owns a team. Let's all be Hornet fans.
Oh yeah.
What if the entire community exclusively purchased Hornet gear?
Yeah. That's a great point.
We should, just the way we buy them Jordans, we should have been buying Hornet gear.
Right.
And then he can afford, I'm in a small market. Not if everybody in America that look like us. Because remember, I'm old enough to remember everybody and their uncle and their mama wore a Georgetown jersey or a hat.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
What if we did the same thing with the Hornets with Michael Jordan? Yeah, I'm in a small market, but I make so much money off the gear nationwide. See, we also have to start supporting these athletes and letting them know if you rock with us, we'll rock with you. If you go buy a jersey, okay, LeBron James, Steph Curry, Kyrie of late, and these brothers who's standing up. What's the boy? Jaylen, not Jaylen Brown. Somebody, but not Shannon Brown.
Somebody, I think it is Jaylen Brown. Jaylen Brown for the Celtics.
Yeah, Shannon Brown. If we can start exclusive, if you go buy a jersey, are you not an activist? I don't want your jersey. Let
me ask you this, HRap. Do you think that we're less connected as a community, as a people now than we were back then in the 60s? Or no? Okay.
Nope. That's the propaganda that we're fed. Like that stat about, I'm a criminal justice major, DeAnthony. That's that same thing that it's always pumped. Well, we ain't together no more. We ain't together no more. We ain't together no more. When last time somebody not from your community been in your house? Either one of y'all.
The last time somebody's been in our house?
That wasn't from your community. Exactly. When was the last time you had a cookout and there was a whole bunch of other people there? Y'all got chicken joints and stuff like that. Barbershops. How many non-black people be in a barbershop? You get your dreads.
Rare.
How many non-black people be in there?
Rare.
Yeah, but are we mobilizing? Are we doing those same things?
We are not immobilizing like we should. But the thing is, we keep doing this.
Yeah.
Instead of going, okay, well, since they ain't doing it, I got it. That's the problem. Because Dr. King, Ralph Abernathy, all those dudes from the 60s, they said, no. Well, see, we be going, what you gonna do?
Yeah.
Now,
what are we doing? Let's look in the mirror.
What are you gonna do?
Yeah.
It ain't Kyrie Irving responsibility to fix Dallas, Chicago. It's Ben, DeAnthony, and HRap spot.
Right.
Yeah.
And we keep pointing the finger and going, well, what about us? What you got on it? Nothing.
Right. All right. Shout out to Shannon White. Man, HRap, you got a following, man. Your crew come to the show and just like what up? They ain't gonna let them. Let's see. Let's go to.
What was that? What was that reference? What was that comment toward Ben? They're not gonna let them.
They're not gonna let those athletes give money to.
Yeah. Man, these athletes, they they, you sign these contracts and these different agreements, man. And I'm telling you, them guys, it's like they put a muzzle over their mouth, man.
Yeah.
Well, do like the drug dealers. The drug dealers give me, you, and Ben. We all got a friend that's in criminal activity. If they were smart, they would call us and say, "Hey, man, you got a square job. Let me buy this house for you. Let me buy this 2-flat for you, and we're gonna create a management company, and then you hire me to be the manager over my stuff."
Yeah.
Athletes, they can all do. LeBron created the blueprint. He got 4 or 5 homies that was broke as a joke. Maverick wasn't. Maverick was the hookup guy, but he had 4 or 5 homies that didn't have anything, and now they got everything. Show you how powerful LeBron is. Deshaun Watson signed the contract at the end of last year for a whole boatload of money, and now he's saying, "Get me out of here." And guess who his agent is? LeBron's guy.
Really?
Clutch.
Wow. What's the guy's name? It's something.
Rich
Porter. Mary
Potter and
Rich Paul. I think it's Rich Paul.
Yeah, Rich Paul. Yep.
LeBron.
But see, I'm iffy on LeBron, and I respect LeBron because he do a lot, but it's also corporate with him, man, where you don't know if this is like grassroots or if it's somebody behind him. You know what I'm saying? That's the feeling I get with LeBron.
The money is there, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, see, we can't worry about why, because if you slide me $50,000, like if you went in the super chat and sent Ben $50,000 a day and never asked for anything, he shouldn't be like, "Is this dope money?"
Yeah.
I got a studio. I'm building a bigger studio. See, we can't worry about the who's and the whys of what for us as long as it's clean. As far as we know, he clean.
And I don't mean the literal stand. I mean like the I Promise school. You build a school, but how much is it really about?
Of course, he didn't. That ain't all his money. It's about 40% of his money. But again, the court that this Chase is backing. Like he put up $40 million, and Chase put up the rest. So if you are in Akron and you want to go to Akron University, you can go for free, and your parents can get GEDs and go for free too. Chase put up most of the money, but it don't make a difference if it's gonna benefit you. See, Chase putting up the money so you could turn around. Because I used to work in corporate America with Capital One, a predatory lender. I was the #1 guy in the nation. I was #1 supervisor in the nation at one point. They took me to the White Sox game, handed me a $5,000 check. I was like, and then I turned to the dude and said, "Yo, man, we doing this collection for y'all, and I see a lot of accounts in the projects. Why y'all over there, man? What's up with that?" And he was like, "Oh, we got that money insured. We lend that money to the people in the project because people not gonna be on their behind their whole life. And at some point you're gonna pull yourself up. And when you pull yourself up, what's the first thing you're gonna say? When I ain't had nothing, they mess with me. So I'm gonna go to Capital One to get this car. I'm gonna go to Capital One to get this house. I'm gonna go to Capital One to get this business loan." That's the game. As long as we go, "Thank you. I'm going to Howard. Thank you. I'm going to Morehouse. Thank you. I'm going to Morris Brown. Thank you. I'm going to Spelman," or whatever. And then we turn around and say, "Thank you. I'm banking with Big Mike now. Thank you. I'm banking with First United, the largest black-owned bank in the United States of America. Thanks for the help, but I'm running with my people."
Yeah.
I got a guy who coming on the show that I told you about at the top of the show. His name is Reverend Dodd II. I didn't even know he's my pastor's father. He a pastor too. He told me this. When he was a little boy, the lady would give him some money to go to the store and get her milk. She would give him an extra nickel to go to the Jewish store because she was Jewish. We a community that don't think, "Oh man, it's just milk." No, it ain't just milk. I take your money, but I'm only listening to Ben. I say it. Ben can attest to it. I say it every week. we complaining that we ain't got the proper sports shows. Well, you need to tune in to Ben and my show.
Yeah.
You complain about the music, you need to tune in to DJ Knox, Mooka Dean, Chuck, and the people at MCDE. You complain about variety, you need to tune in Money to Chief Rock. But we think, oh no, the whole Dr. King, I hate to call it the Dr. King thing, the whole integration thing. We think integration is the way to go. Meanwhile, everybody else is uniting with people with like causes. I will never forget right before the election, you watch Bill, or what's his name, Bill Maher on HBO. He had
John Bill whatever. Yeah.
He had John Leguizamo on there. Now, at the end of the day, Puerto Ricans and black people, we got African ancestry, right? But you know what John Leguizamo said on that show and said? Well, everybody talking about the black community, no disrespect, but we got 32 million people registered to vote. They got the Latin Alliance, got Latinx people, got 32 million people. They only got 30 million. So you done fell for the trick, buddy.
Yeah.
You fell for the trick because they don't like you either. But that's what I say on my show all the time. They call us the minority, but when you look at the actual facts, it's 45 to 50 million people that's in our community in this country. I bet you it's not 45, 50 million Jews. I bet you it's not 45 to 50 million Italians. I bet you it's not 45, 50 million Frenchmen, Polish, Russian, and so forth and so on. Yeah. But they call us the minority. No, we're the minority when it comes to dark-skinned people. But when it comes to one singular group, match our numbers.
Yeah.
That's why, look, why else would a group of people that make up 13% of the population, why do they hound for our votes? Then they tell us we don't vote. Joe Biden on that Zoom video a couple of weeks ago, he said, well, the Latin people got as many people voting as y'all do now. But guess what? 95% of black women voted for Joe Biden. 89% of black men voted for Joe Biden. And the next group was 60%. Why the hell do we need to work with anybody? You need to be listening to us, buddy. And until we realize that, DeAnthony, we're going to continue to suffer because we allow, like the Minister Louis Farrakhan said, how you going to get healthy eating out your enemy's kitchen? How we going to get the proper knowledge listening to the TV that tells the whole, I got a Nigerian buddy. He said when he first got to America, he came here because he thought America was as black as Nigeria. Because he only saw Right On magazine, he only saw the Jet, he only saw everything.
Yeah.
He said when he got here, he watched the news and thought we were thugs and hoodlums and criminals. Then he got angry at white people because he realized that was a lie.
Yeah. So
if you got somebody who touching down, don't know nothing about America, saying the news is corrupt, why we keep listening?
Yeah, that's true.
So that's why I say we are, DeAnthony, but we listening to other people who want to keep us apart so we continue to fall for the banana in the tailpipe. Hey man, I was listening to Karen Hunter. Shout out to Karen Hunter and Dr. Greg Carr show. This brother called in, 26 years old. He read 300 books last year.
Wow.
You don't hear about that?
No.
And he started an organization to help. He's an educator. He's a teacher. But you don't hear about him. But you hear about Pookie, Namna, who shot such and such on my man Big Illinois show one week. It was a boatload of people had got shot in Chicago. Chicago is more segregated than any city in the South. Any city. If you look like this, I can look at you and go, you from the South Side? Yeah. Are you from the West Side? Yeah. Because you black. Now, on me and Big Illinois looked it up. It was people shot where black people do not go. But when you heard all the people got shot, the first thing that came to your mind is black folks shooting black folks.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be quiet after this. The largest organized crime organizations on earth are the Asian Mafia, 2, the Russian Mafia, 1, Asian Mafia, 2, the Mexican Mafia, MS-13, 3, right? Why don't y'all live in Texas? Why don't y'all ever see those moms on TV?
Yeah, I don't ever see
Crime
MS-13.
committed by that.
Never.
But you see us on TV all the time.
Every night. Multiple stories, back to back to back.
So now, DeAnthony, we love each other, man. But what we do is watch the news and let the news say, DeAnthony don't love HRap. DeAnthony don't love Ben. Ben don't love DeAnthony. Ben. But all of a sudden, look, we've made a connection right here this evening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we just gotta say.
And you know, that goes to the Malcolm X quote where he say, paraphrasing, but if you're not careful, I think with the newspaper or the news will have you hating, something like that. But it goes back to that quote. If you're not careful, man, the newspaper have you fighting and hating each other, and that ain't even what's going on.
Right. That's true.
Hey. Got a couple comments too, I see, Ben.
Yeah, definitely. Let me get to those. We got William Gatewood said, if you're making $30 million a year, you shouldn't worry what people think. Help out your community. Shout out to Aiden Barrett. Appreciate you for tuning in. He said, what's up, guys? Happy MLK Day. Newton, he bought a home for George Floyd. Yeah, that was Kyrie. Like, Kyrie, I really truly believe that Kyrie's what's what I'm looking for? His desires or his things that he wants to do are in the right place. I think he's just really trying to figure out, do I want to do this anymore? And yes, he did buy a house for George Floyd's family. I mean, and that kind of goes back to what HRap was talking about. Just how can you help out those people that we clearly know need something and that look like us? And I see Kyrie doing those things. I mean, there's no denying that. RP3 Natural, thank you for coming through. He's on Twitter. Chris Christmas says, good point. Indeed, that was a comment by HRap. He's on the show and commenting. And it's not just basketball, the football players, baseball players, hockey, etc. That's true. I mean, yeah, we can't.
They really don't have no excuse for not coming together. If these guys coming together with that type of, not even money, with some of the guys got big money and some of the guys don't, but if they can just come together and we can support them and they can support us, even a little change is a change. And I think at this point, a little change is significant in our community.
Yeah. And football, when it comes to football, like, to me, that's the most probably entertaining sport, but they are treated with the most disrespect because you could die on the field. And guess what? Next player up. That's it. You could have a concussion. You could be paralyzed from the waist down. Next player up. It don't matter. Like that, to me, that part, like, I watch football because I enjoy it. I think it's a great sport, but I think they're all stupid. Like, I wouldn't do that. If I had a son, he is definitely not playing football because there's nothing to protect you from something happening. It could just happen just like that. So, and then the fact that they continue to do it, which I get it. I mean, it makes you a lot of money, but like, there's no protection. There's no like concussion protection. There's no getting paralyzed protection. It can happen. Now, it's a rarity, but it can still happen.
I'm not a doctor. I don't play one on TV or anything. I'm not on. I'm like Shannon Sharp. I graduated from college. Thank you, Lord. So, but you know what I believe contributes to a lot of those concussions. And if you want to watch this thing called the Poison Pill, and What the Health on Netflix, I think it's nutrition is the major contributor to that. Because if it was just rough and tumble football hasn't, like they say, they bigger, stronger, faster. But the dudes in the 50s were big, strong. Man, the dudes in the 40s, the 50s are bigger, stronger, faster. The 60s bigger, strong. So that can't be the problem. Why isn't Dick Buckets jacked up? I think I mentioned this on my show. How did we go from McDonald's being a treat? We got a community of people raised eating McDonald's 4 to 5 times a week. Your brain is in development because you're not getting the nutrition. And now you don't have the protection provided for you naturally through your body. That's my theory. It ain't based on nothing but just me watching. Because just think about it, man. Our grandparents didn't eat meat every day. Beans.
They work.
and they worked
all day. Not just 8 hours.
Yeah, they didn't eat meat every day, and meat is a deterrent to your health. You don't get the vitamins. Like I just started taking. You take the 2 1-a-days. I mean, one a day vitamin. You take this, and you can be. I take 2, man. I take 2 because on that documentary, it even says it. Look, let me show you what I mean. On the magic pill, I think I sent it to you before, Ben.
Yeah.
On that documentary, it had young people who were nonverbal, 8 years old, never said one word, changed their diet, and it is not like they became orators, but they were speaking now. They start putting more vegetables, more grains, and things that fortify your body. They go from special needs to high level special needs to mid level. Just imagine if they would have been eating that from birth. They might have still been special needs, but where are you then?
Yeah. I mean, but that goes back to our community though. Like we don't grow our own food. We don't we're so removed from who we really are that we really are what they want us to be. And that's in every facet. That's in sports, that's in nutrition. We're so removed from who we truly are that we are what they programmed us to be, simply put. Yeah. And it's a sad reality when you understand that. Yeah. But we can change that if we awaken our mental capacities.
Hey, DeAnthony, W.E.B. Du Bois predicted that in 1960. He said, "What you gonna do when they change the laws?" He said, your kids not gonna want to go to school. You're not gonna want to eat properly, and you are going to be a mirror of what you're gonna be, what somebody else imagined you to be. Exactly what you just said. W.E.B. Du Bois said that 61 years ago.
And what's so scary, you can literally take that and apply it in everything, whether it's sports, everything. Yeah. It's kind of like a symptom. The symptoms are going into different areas, whether it's sports or it's not.
Yeah, true.
It's sad, brother. Sad.
That's true. Rhonda says they do not muzzle on them, but the funny thing, they have morality. They do. Oh, they do. Yep. They do put a muzzle on them, but the funny thing is they have morality clauses in their contracts only when it impacts others.
Facts.
Yeah.
Like if
these
we really
guys
knew,
are walking advertisement, man. That's all they are.
If we really knew what was in, what was in their contracts, like we only know the numbers. We only know the numbers, but the underlining stuff that's in there, we would probably be shocked. When you as big as LeBron, it's always some other at play.
That's the point I'm making. That's all I put on making, man. And I want it to be done for the right reason. That's all I was trying to say.
You know what, DeAnthony? Maybe he is, as Ben just said, we don't know what's in his contract. Maybe he is doing it for the right reason, but he got to do the corporate thing too. That's why I said maybe they need to start doing like the criminals. Funneling that money. Godfather. We made all this money in criminality. We're gonna go to Vegas and buy this hotel. Hey man, I want both of y'all to download this app, man. It's a beautiful app created by this sister, man. It is official. It is official Black Wall Street. OBWS.
Oh yeah, I follow them on IG.
Yep.
OBWS.
OBWS.
Okay.
Every time you drive past a Black-owned business, you go ding and send you what it is.
Let me ask y'all this. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No. These are the things we have to do because we can't ask LeBron them to do everything. But if we start following official, man, tune in to Karen Hunter too, man. Tune in on Saturdays, Dr. Greg Carr and Karen Hunter on YouTube. Man, I read a lot, but this is a brother. You see all the space behind me? This dude has nothing but books behind him. I have learned more since April of 2020 to today. It's been 46 episodes of that in class with Greg Carr. Then I learned the entire 49 other years of my life.
Wow. In class with Greg Carr.
Yep. It's called just follow Karen Hunter every Saturday in class with Greg Carr. Mind blowing, brothers.
Yeah.
I think they were Karen Hunter. Did she used to have a radio show? Was she on the
Still
radio?
got one on satellite radio.
Yep.
And her moniker is building Black Wall Street one brick at a time.
Yeah. I want to ask her. I want to ask her. I know Ben, you got to kind of keep the show going. You got to come. I want to ask, man. Do we think that some of these guys having a lack of male presence is that somehow impacting all of this? Like whether it be a lack of a father, a lack of infrastructure, a lack of seeing entrepreneurs, is that having an impact in a kind of weird type of way?
Oh yeah, for sure. If you don't have anything, if you don't have someone that you can maybe emulate or see, then you don't know. Like that's why so many of these guys get that contract and it's gone in like the first week because they don't have any. They never really had anybody to tell them this is how you manage money. This is a bank account. This is checks. I mean, like they possibly got their first check and that was the first check maybe they ever got. I mean, like yeah, I definitely agree with that.
I just want to throw that out there.
Yeah, I totally agree with Ben. I totally agree with him, man.
And I think that's important. I know in the NFL for sure. I don't know about in the NBA, but they have with these rookies as they come in as a class. I think Chris Carter was teaching one of them or something.
Mm-hmm.
But it's basically saying like, hey, this is what I did with this first contract. And if I didn't play well, like I could have been out of the league and I'm done. I'm working at Lion King or, not Lion King, but Food Lion or somewhere. It's just we don't. That's one thing that we all have to really get better at is managing our money and making our money work for us. Like making money while you sleep. Like we say that. We heard Jay-Z say it. We hear people say it, but real people are doing that, and that's how you build that wealth, and that's how you build that legacy. Like that's beyond us, beyond the three of us, our kids. This type of stuff.
Yeah. And it's I don't know if you guys heard of Tone Talks or Yvette Carnell? They speak a lot about our economic position, man. So that's another page YouTube y'all might want to check out.
Yeah.
Okay.
Christmas football contracts are not guaranteed. The player may sign a 5-year, $130 million contract with only 45 guaranteed. Yeah, that happens all the time, and it's always like we're only going to give you so much, and also there's clauses in the contracts when you get injured. There's a settlement that you get. It's like we just see the stuff that's scrolling across the bottom. We don't really see that the money that they really get is a fraction of that. And HRap, before you talk, I was going to say, they showed this clip of like one side showed how much they make, how much the player, I think this was NBA, at the top. It showed the agent gets a cut. This other person gets a cut. They get a cut. They get a cut. They get a cut. By the time it's all the way down at the bottom, it's about half. So when we talk about, oh, that's too much money, honestly, it's not, because our money equal to theirs is not the same, obviously. But when you take all the stuff out, go ahead. I'm done. Go ahead.
I want to just make 2 points, man. You ever notice that you never hear about the white athletes' money? Like Schumacher, the driver, he makes $85 million a year. You never heard about that. The second point is, I don't support his channel anymore. I've never been a fan of his channel because the things that people are saying about DJ Vlad now, you can ask some of my friends. I've been saying it for 10 years. But I do like John Sally because John Sally will not allow him to pimp him, right?
Yeah.
John Sally said at the end of his rookie year, now this is in the 80s, so it wasn't tens and 20s of millions of dollars. But he said at the end of his first year, he had $36,000 to his name.
Wow.
At the end of his second year, at the end of 1 year, Shaq lent him some money.
Shaq was younger than him.
He was drafted at 87. Shaq was drafted in 91.
Wow.
Shaq lent him some money. He said he didn't make money until he was 4 or 5 years into his career. He didn't make money. Okay, this is, if I'm not mistaken, I know he started with Detroit, went up to Toronto, went down to Miami. he didn't make a dime until he got money in Miami.
Wow.
So to your point, that's why I was like, yes, man. To your point, you can tell people $50 million. And okay, let's just say you got $25 million when the smoke clears. You're spending like $50 million. I'm so tired of people. Like one of my friends came to my show one day and was like, well, you should know better. Why? Where is the figure out how to make $50 million work class at in the hood? You know, it don't exist.
You and honestly, I don't know. I'm not in their heads, you know, when they get this, but you got to think like all the stuff I wanted since I was a kid, I'm about to buy now.
Thanks.
Like not tomorrow, now. Like, and that's yes, you can say it's immature, but if you think of a mindset of somebody that has not had a lot, had to share, had hand-me-downs, like what you expect? You expect them to, oh no, I'm gonna save all my money. Like that's not what they're thinking. And that's just being realistic.
Mm-hmm.
Crispy said, okay. I remember Shannon Sharp saying had $500,000 worth of cars, but didn't have a home to live in. He was staying with his grandmother. Wow.
Yeah.
And we value cars. We definitely value cars more than we do houses, which that's a whole nother story.
Wow, man, that's interesting how we, you know, talked about Dr. King kind of led up to this and where we're at presently, which feels like, you know, we're in the midst of a social and unrest like it was then. So it you know, in another perspective, man, maybe these guys don't have the money like we think. Like some of the big guys like LeBron do, but some of these other guys, maybe they don't.
Yeah.
But you know, we still would like for them to do something. You know what I'm saying?
Right. More importantly, this is from Rhonda. We getting ready to wrap it up. But more importantly, they don't teach us how to balance the checkbook, manage personal savings, or invest. That's true. Like, and balancing a checkbook that's like the bottom level basic, you know, what we should know. But again, if nobody ever taught you and you get that first check, like you still don't know. Like you still gonna have to learn or read or watch a video or something. Yeah. So yeah.
And when we say they didn't teach, or we saying the athletes or the school system, because I really think, and I wish we had, and some areas do, but certain things in our community that others don't teach, but we can teach ourselves.
Yeah.
Whether it be an African American accountant or African American health nutritionist. Like I wish we had these classes and we would support these groups to where we can somehow teach our own. I think sometimes it's always others who are teaching us as if we're not capable of teaching our own. So I hope that maybe we can start with a conversation, but I hope we start to see things change in the future.
Yeah, and the school system is what she was saying. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know for sure the stuff I learned in the school system, I honestly don't know how much of that stuff I've actually used. I mean, in high school, like, you know, writing the letter, obviously that's something that you need to know how to do. Doing math,
you gotta go
obviously, back. but that's
you
like
gotta go back to the history of education.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? The Rosenwalds and the Rockefellers. Why did they start education, general education fund? All this is out there. You know, they didn't start it to produce entrepreneurs and people. You look it up, y'all. Go back and look how the school system started. Go back. Steve Coakley, man, one of the great black researchers. The brother was really, really deep out of Chicago. Go listen to his video that he did on Carter G. Woodson, The Miseducation of the Negro. And in that book, he was going over certain things. So a lot of this stuff we're in, man, it did not start just now. And it's like your nose dive deeper in.
Yeah. Appreciate you, Chrisman, for tuning in. Rhonda says, if you take accounting in school, they teach you from a corporate perspective, not a personal perspective. That's true.
See?
It talks about checks and balances for company, you know, quote unquote, or company, whatever. Mm-hmm. But man, this was a great conversation. This went deeper than what I thought. I knew it was going to be fire when I got you two together.
Hey, I almost forgot we were talking about Dr. King at first, but it all ties into it.
Dr. King leads you to, man.
Yep.
Because we were talking about the betterment of the community. That's Dr. King as an ancestor reaching down and touching us and pushing the conversation fault.
Exactly.
Yep.
Exactly.
Everything comes full circle.
Yeah, that's true.
Yep.
That's true. Well, man, I appreciate both of you guys for coming on the show tonight. We definitely got to do this again, man. We definitely.
I don't have no shows on Monday, Dan, so I'm good every Monday.
Okay.
And I think sometimes, as much as we talk sports, it's good to talk this stuff too, because I think sometimes we use sports. Sometimes we use sports to run from the problems. That's true. It's like we got so much going on. It's like sports is our entertainment, but sometimes you got to have these conversations too.
And that's the main thing for this channel is I love sports, but also like there's life. Like we go through stuff every single day, and sometimes we don't talk about that stuff, and it needs to be talked about, and we need to go back and look at what our ancestors have experienced, like Martin Luther King, like we talked about tonight. But great time, great interactive, great commentary from both of you guys. What do you guys have coming up this week, DeAnthony? I know the football just ended, so
yeah. So I got a swimming tournament that I'll be filming. It's like Division 2 or 3 college, man, little small schools. Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. It's about 4 hours a piece. So I'll be filming with that, and then just trying to plan my time. This upcoming spring to see what I'm gonna do, whether photography or videography. Just trying to do my own thing. So that's pretty much all I got this week.
Definitely. Hey, you fired with that camera, man. I didn't know you was that. I know you was that dope at it. So I want to give you a props.
Yeah, man. Right I picked it back. I picked it back up, man. I got a background with the camera. We was at church. I was on the camera crew.
Oh yeah, camera crew.
Yeah. I just transferred that into the digital camera, man. So I hope to keep going with that.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, HRap. I know we talked about some of the shows you got coming up, but what you got coming up with Build for This Network and everything?
Well, tomorrow we got DJ Knox in the afternoon, and then I'll be on tomorrow evening for the traditional sports show, and then we got Big Illinois coming back on Wednesday for his first show of the year of the Backyard. Well, it's real loose, but it's this kind of conversation. And then me and D Great trying to figure out what we're gonna do with the couch potatoes. But then you got just the traditional layout. Yeah. Monday Chief Rocker, Tuesday me and Knox, Wednesday Big Illinois, Thursday DJ Knox again with Cheers and James Earl, and then Knox and Big Illinois Friday. Mooka D, me and Lisa Saturday. Sunday you got Mooka Dean, and once I get to 12, I'm gonna start that a living history conversation with me and anybody. You come up, man. I love to have you, DeAnthony. We just gonna have a conversation about life. I start off every interview the same. What's your earliest memory in life? And then it's gonna go for that because a lot of people try to interview you, but an interview is not gonna get information. An interview is not gonna let me know you because you just you're gonna answer the questions. But a conversation will open up, and that's one thing I don't like about Vlad. I hate to harp on him, but I want all us to unplug from Vlad because
I did a long time ago, and now as I'm seeing more things, he's just one of those. Yeah, just out there trying to exploit the bad. All right, so
I'm gonna call you in a minute, Ben. I got a couple questions because I may be canceling the subscription or something and paying for something else. So I'm gonna call you in like 2 minutes.
Okay, cool. I'm gonna leave you with a quote, everyone, tonight. Martin Luther King: "If you cannot do great things, if I cannot do great things, I can do small things in a great way." I think that's an amazing quote, especially for where we are right now, because I think all of us see what we want to do as the big view in the long term, but like doing the great things, small things every single day. And that will lead, I believe that'll lead to that great thing. So thank you everyone for tuning in. Thank you, HRap, for coming on. Thank you, DeAnthony, for coming on. Thank you, HRap, for bringing the crew in. Man, they came in heavy. So thank you for all of those that tuned in on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. Make sure to check out Build for This Network and BS3radio.com.
Thank you for your platform, Ben, man. Thank you for the platform.
You having me on.
Definitely.
Yep.
All right. Y'all have a great night.
Better have a go, man. Peace out.
All right. Nice meeting you, DeAnthony.